Healing rarely arrives wrapped in calm or certainty. At the beginning, it can feel like a storm inside, more pain, more chaos, and sometimes a deeper sense of disconnection than before. This confusion can shake your faith, making you question if you're truly moving forward or just spinning in place. But this upheaval isn't a sign of failure. It's the body and mind waking up from old patterns, shaking loose what's been buried for too long. The process of healing often stirs up buried emotions and memories that were locked away for survival. This resurfacing can feel overwhelming and unsettling, as if the wound is being reopened before it can properly close. Yet this painful stirring is necessary. It's your nervous system trying to process what it couldn't before, signaling that change is underway, even when it feels chaotic. The discomfort you experience is the language of your body, asking for attention and integration. True healing demands that we face discomfort head-on. It doesn't smooth over pain or erase scars overnight. Instead, it unfolds through moments of rawness and vulnerability, the difficult cracks in our defenses where real transformation begins. Understanding this paradox is crucial. Healing feels like breaking down because that's the gateway to breaking through. Today, we'll explore why discomfort signals progress and how embracing it opens the door to lasting restoration. Before we dive in, what you'll hear today is meant to guide and inform, but it's not medical advice. If something resonates deeply or stirs something difficult, I encourage you to speak to a licensed mental health professional. Healing rarely starts gently. When you begin to face what's been buried, it often feels like everything unravels at once. Old wounds, emotions, and memories that were locked away suddenly rise to the surface, sometimes in overwhelming waves. This flood can be disorienting, exhausting, and even frightening. You may feel like you're falling apart instead of coming together. But this experience of breaking open is not a failure or setback. It is the very beginning of true healing. The reason for this rupture lies in how trauma and pain affect the body and mind. When distress is too intense or prolonged, your system learns to freeze, shut down, or compartmentalize. Emotions and memories get trapped in the nervous system, disconnected from conscious awareness. This storage is a survival mechanism, but it comes with a cost. The unresolved energy keeps cycling beneath the surface, fueling anxiety, depression, and physical symptoms. Breaking open is the body's way of finally releasing that trapped energy. This release can feel like shaking loose from chains you didn't know were holding you. It's messy and uncomfortable because it forces you to confront what was once too painful to face. Your body might react with tension, trembling, or nausea. Your mind might spiral with memories or feelings of despair. But these are signs your nervous system is waking up and beginning to reorganize itself. The breaking is the necessary rupture before a new order can form. This phase also reveals just how intertwined the body and mind are in healing. You cannot heal a trauma wound solely through thinking or willpower. The body holds the imprint of trauma in muscle tension, posture, breath patterns, and more. When these physical sensations start to emerge, they give voice to what words often cannot express. Healing requires honoring this somatic wisdom by allowing the body to feel, move, and release. Understand, too, that breaking open doesn't mean losing control. It's about learning to ride the waves instead of drowning in them. With proper support, whether through therapy, somatic practices, or safe relationships, you can develop tools to ground yourself when emotions surge. This grounding is crucial because it helps you stay present and aware even when the pain feels intense. Over time, the breaking becomes less chaotic and more a process of unfolding and integration. In trauma recovery, this breaking open often coincides with what some call the window of tolerance. This is the range in which you can experience emotions without becoming overwhelmed or shutting down. Initially, that window may be very narrow, making the breaking feel unbearable. But as healing progresses, your nervous system learns to expand this window, holding more distress with less reactivity. This growth is a powerful marker of true resilience. Healing is not linear. and breaking open may repeat in cycles. Each time you release a layer of stored pain, new feelings may emerge. This is not regression, but deepening. You're moving from surface symptoms to root causes, from fragmentation to wholeness. Each rupture peels back old defenses and false protections so the real self beneath can breathe and grow. So if your healing feels like breaking apart, remember this: breaking open is not the end. It is the critical first step on the journey toward freedom. The body and mind are finally waking from a long hibernation, shaking off what no longer serves. This process demands patience, compassion, and above all, trust that beneath the discomfort lies your true capacity to heal and reclaim your life. One of the most confusing and disheartening experiences on the healing journey. Just when you start doing the work, therapy, self-reflection, somatic practices, you suddenly feel worse, not better. Anxiety spikes, old memories flood in. You feel raw, exposed, unsteady, and you think, if this is healing, why does it feel like I'm falling apart? That question is not a failure. It's a sign you're in the exact place where real transformation begins. This moment where everything seems to collapse is what many trauma-informed therapists refer to as a healing crisis. It happens because the systems you've built to protect yourself from pain, suppression, avoidance, dissociation are starting to loosen. And when those walls come down, the emotions they held back rush forward. It's not a regression, it's a release. You're not becoming broken, you're finally meeting what's been broken all along. Think of it like this: your emotional system is like a muscle. If that muscle hasn't been used in years, the first time you stretch it, it might ache. It might even tear a little. That doesn't mean it's damaged, it means it's waking up. Similarly, your nervous system is stretching beyond survival mode for the first time. That stretch feels like chaos, but it's actually capacity being rebuilt from the ground up. We're conditioned to associate healing with relief, calm, clarity, closure. But early healing doesn't feel like that. It often feels messier than what came before. Why? Because you're no longer numb. You're no longer avoiding. You're feeling everything, sometimes all at once. This intensity is not danger, it's detox. Your body and mind are trying to flush out years of stored pain, confusion, and emotional residue. The paradox is this: healing looks and feels like breaking, because part of you is breaking, the part that had to armor up just to survive. That armor did its job, but now it's suffocating your growth. And when it starts to crack, you're left exposed, vulnerable, emotional, confused. That exposure is not weakness. It's the beginning of being real with yourself. No more pretending, no more performance, just truth. Understanding this worse before better moment is essential to staying the course. If you don't expect it, you'll think the process isn't working. You'll bail on the therapy, quit the journaling, avoid the inner work, not because it failed, but because it started working. This is the inflection point. If you can hold yourself here, gently, consistently, what comes next is integration, not implosion. This is where support becomes vital. Not to rescue you or fix you, but to remind you what you're feeling is part of the process. Grounding techniques, somatic tools, regulated relationships, all help widen your window of tolerance so the pain doesn't drown you. You learn to stay with your pain instead of running from it. And over time, this presence builds strength, clarity, and emotional trust in yourself. One of the most misunderstood signals on the healing journey is discomfort. We tend to associate it with failure, with something going wrong. But in reality, discomfort is often the first sign that something important is shifting. When your inner landscape begins to change, it doesn't always feel like relief. It often feels like friction. That friction isn't a mistake, it's your system stretching beyond what it used to know. Healing asks your mind, body, and emotions to step outside their comfort zones, and they protest. Why? Because for years they've adapted to pain, repression, or disconnection as the norm. Safety was built around avoidance. Now you're asking them to engage, to feel, to reconnect. That's not a gentle process. It's a recalibration. Like muscles trembling under new movement, your system shakes because it's learning. Your nervous system, in particular, is not used to openness, it's used to protection. So when you allow emotion to rise or sit with uncertainty or resist old coping habits, your body might respond with restless anxiety, even exhaustion. That's not a sign of failure. That's neuroplasticity in motion, your system building new patterns in real time. It's clunky. It's tiring. It's tiring. But it's real growth. What makes discomfort hard to bear is the belief that it shouldn't be there. If you expect healing to feel like ease, then every painful moment will seem like a red flag. But if you expect it to feel challenging, even disorienting at times, you'll meet the discomfort with more compassion. You'll see it as an ally, not an enemy. It's the emotional soreness of growth. A signal that something is being rewired deep inside you. That's why practices like mindfulness are so powerful. Mindfulness isn't about escaping discomfort. It's about being present with it without panicking. It's the ability to sit in the fire without feeding it. To say, yes, this is hard and I can stay. Grounding techniques like breath work, sensory focus, or movement help your body remember it's safe to feel. You're not in danger. You're just in transformation. Many people confuse discomfort with misalignment, but the truth is often the opposite. Discomfort is the alignment. It's the sign that your old patterns are loosening, and your system doesn't know what to replace them with yet. That in-between state is vulnerable, but also fertile. This is where the new self begins to take form, even if it's not visible yet. This is also why growth requires tolerance, not speed. You don't have to rush through discomfort to get to the healed part. In fact, trying to bypass discomfort usually sends you right back into old loops. What helps is learning to stay with yourself, not abandon the process the moment it hurts. Staying builds internal trust, emotional stamina, and self-leadership. Healing doesn't come with a roadmap. It doesn't follow neat stages, timelines, or deadlines. One day you may feel light and hopeful, and the next you're back in the heaviness you thought you'd escaped. This unpredictability is not a failure. It's the nature of transformation. Growth isn't linear. It spirals. It doubles back. It pauses. And learning to trust that mess is part of how you begin to trust yourself. One of the hardest things to accept in healing is that progress often looks like regression. But what's actually happening is deeper layers surfacing. New insights, old wounds, unprocessed memories. The mind might panic. I'm slipping, but you're not. You're just deepening. Healing peels away protective layers, and sometimes what it uncovers is uncomfortable. Not because you're broken, but because you're finally feeling what's real. This is where self-compassion becomes critical. Without it, your inner critic hijacks the process. You'll shame yourself for not healing fast enough, for still struggling, for needing rest. But healing isn't about performance. It's about relationship. How do you speak to yourself when you're low, when you slip up? That voice matters. Healing is less about avoiding pain and more about how you hold yourself in the pain. Compassion is a practice, not a mood. It's a muscle you build every time you choose gentleness over judgment. When you tell yourself it's okay to hurt today, you create safety inside your own system. And safety is what allows your body to come out of survival. The paradox is this: we don't heal by pushing ourselves harder. We heal by making it safe enough to soften. Patience, too, is an act of trust. When you're healing from trauma, anxiety, depression, your brain and nervous system are literally rewiring. That takes time. Slowness isn't stagnation, it's integration. Rushing the process often leads to burnout or relapse. But when you move slowly, steadily, and with intention, healing takes root. It becomes sustainable, embodied, real. It's also important to build a safety net around your healing. Support matters, not because others can do the work for you, but because no one heals well in isolation. Trauma often began in disconnection. Healing grows in connection. Therapists, support groups, trusted friends, spiritual mentors. These relationships don't fix you, but they hold space for your truth, and that space is sacred. Healthy routines also anchor the healing process. Sleep, nourishment, movement, creative expression. They ground your nervous system and give your healing somewhere to land. Think of these routines as scaffolding. They hold you up while your inner world restructures. The stronger your scaffolding, the more safely you can explore your pain and your potential. So remember this: healing will test you. It will challenge everything you think you know about yourself. But the pain is temporary. The disorientation is a sign you're growing. And the resilience you build through compassion and patience, that's what lasts. Not just survival, but real, rooted self-trust. That's the gift of staying with the process even when it's hard. Healing doesn't feel like healing in the beginning. It feels like unraveling. Old beliefs collapse. Suppressed emotions rise. Familiar coping mechanisms stop working. It can feel like everything is falling apart, but that's not failure. That's the nervous system finally exhaling. That's your truth surfacing after years of being buried. Chaos isn't the opposite of healing. It's the signal that something deeper is awakening. The real transformation begins when you stop resisting this discomfort and start trusting yourself through it. When you meet the chaos with compassion instead of judgment and let go of the timeline in favor of presence, you begin to move from survival into self-leadership. This isn't the end of your story, it's the threshold. A return to wholeness, a quiet, fierce rebirth. And it starts not when things feel easy, but when you realize, even in this pain, I'm still here, still healing, still becoming.